Our dear hackers and our dear guests, with our special panel today, we are addressing the future of mobility. And this is a panel that we actually created for our hackers to get as many insights on what is there so that you can actually create your solutions better and improve in the proficient way. So how is the technology changing the way we move? How are our habits changing the way we move and determining what we select as a moving vehicle, how we call it. With the appearance of Corona, there were always also two things that I will not say appeared, but accelerated. And this was work from home and digital nomadism. Both are affecting mobility, one in decline, one in acceleration. What does all that mean? So in parallel, technological, giants are finally also addressing the climate solutions and the effect that mobility has on our environment. So this is very important topic on all agendas because mobility is one of number one polluters that we see. So to address all this and so much more, we've invited extremely knowledgeable, experienced panelists to share our thoughts with us, their insights. So let's just present who they are. And hackers, two of them you really know very well. It's Teuta, the CEO of Metal Shark Croatia, inspiring female leader, engineer, innovator, definitely the proper booster for the hackathon. Damir Upsenica, he has already coached you a little bit these 2 days, digital evangelist and CEO of Bein, whose passion is definitely in sustainable digitalization of community, of communications and technologies. So he has been already supporting you on this path. Then we have Jan Kühne, my dear friend, coach, supporter, mentor, otherwise innovation and strategy consultant and coach. And what I like to say, not only he spent his life at the source of innovation in the automotive and broadcasting industries, but he's actually been guiding a lot of them. So I can say that he's a little bit of innovation whisperer in the automotive world. Then we have Sajeev Sharma, CEO of Swayat Robots. I have to say this will be very interesting, because what he's doing, he's actually developing autonomous driving technology that works in traffic with highly stochastic dynamics. Can you imagine mastering the Indian roads with autonomous vehicles? This is what Sanjeev does. And last but not least, we have Milan Despotovic, that is actually a managing director of Swiss operation of the sea cleaners. And he's active in so many ways that we are addressing this today: sustainability, circular technology, and the sea cleaner story. We'll hear about that a little bit later. So, dear guests, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for taking your time to share your knowledge with our hackers. And what I'll do, I'll actually start with a question that usually would come up at the end. But because Teuta and Damir are very active this weekend, let me start with the hackathon question. Teuta, Damir, and this goes for all of you. How do you feel? What do you see about hackathons as a tool of opening companies into outside world, addressing all these people participating in open innovation and creating new solutions for you? Teuta.
First of all, thank you for this great panel and opportunity to talk with all of the present guests. We are very proud as Metal Shark on this event, and we look at it as a great deal of value for our company, from exploring product improvements to supporting employee bonding. Hackathons are actually a great example that sometimes the best way to accomplish a valuable goal is to make it feel like a game. And this is exactly how we are feeling this 48 hours. Here in Metal Shark, we look at diversity as a strength. It increases also the innovative power of our team, which are also serving as part of the mentors as jury throughout this weekend and sharing idea with different teams. After all, alternative perspectives result in more and better solutions. And throughout these informal events, we meet our future employees, industry partners, clients, in a very pleasurable way. So big fans of hackathon events, and this is first of much more to come.
Thank you so much, Teuta. And I can thank you and your team, because I know that the participants are extremely pleasantly surprised. You have actually been with us since yesterday morning, practically nonstop, you and your team. It's like,
we
wow.
understood it very strictly, meaning even if a game, it's a strict, the rules are strict. So, but we are really enjoying it. Otherwise, we would not be here.
Thank you so much. Damir, how do you see hackathons? This is not the first for you. I know that, but now on these 2 days, you have already helped so many teams. What are your insights? What do you think? What do you say about hackathons, and what are you expecting today a little bit, maybe? Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, so that was the joke of the 2020 now.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you all, and it's always a pleasure. I think that one of the things that I like, I think personally, always developing through the hackathons, getting know the new people, new ideas. I think it's incredibly important for any sort of professional in the digitalization industry at the moment. So I think from one side, it's my personal development, and from another side, I don't think that there will be any corporate or any kind of an industry that could kind of cope without including innovation in their process and changing the mindset basically in the way in the direction of the innovations. This is exactly what it is. I think this is what we are doing at the moment for the Metal Shark, and the main aim of the game is basically to provide this mindset to have a competitive advantage in the future for the Metal Shark. And I think this is something what has many proof points as well from the past. So looking forward basically for this one and all other kind of an acceleration and incubator storylines that we will develop around the maritime in this part of the world.
Oh, wow. You got us thinking, there is something going on, and we'll probably hear about that later in the days. Jan,
right.
You've been listening about hackathons and following hackathons for quite some time now. What is your perception of it?
Well, I think the major issue is that we get corporates into diversity of solutions, diversity of staffs, diversity of thinking, and that's the core. And as I'm a real corporate guy. I'm within big companies now for years and years and years, and pitching to the board of managers of innovation, they always said, the preacher in his own field. No, you need the outside to come in. And that's the open innovation is certainly an accelerator for all that. So I'm a fan of that. And there's a challenge, and I take that to Toyota, because you have to put that into action afterwards.
Right.
And there will be a fight, a struggle for resources, because the internal innovation says this, and the open innovation says that, and the incremental innovation says this. So this is your managing challenge now to cope with that and get out the best out of it.
Knowing Toyota should say challenge accepted. Sanjeev, what do you think about hackathons? I know that they're very popular in India as well, huh?
Definitely. I mean, so hackathons are like open innovation platform, as all the panelists already mentioned as well. And in fact, our journey also started with a hackathon actually. So I can very well relate to it. So hackathon basically tests your ability to, to come up with perhaps a novel idea or an existing idea, but it gives you the time frame, maybe 24, 40 to 72 hours to actually innovate on one of the key aspects and be able to not just do the innovation, but also effectively communicate your idea to the jury who is judging it. So basically it tests your ability as a startup or as a team to one, innovate, to solve the problem in the limited amount of time, and also test your ability to actually communicate the idea, which is going to be your journey for a very long time, because as a startup you are going to be doing that over and over again and pitching to investors and whatnot. So I feel, as for corporates, they get ideas as to, like, for example, there's some problem that they do not know, okay, that there's some XYZ ways to solve it. Actually hackathons, by startups or a team, they can sort of open up, some of the ways to actually solve the problem, or maybe address in a much better way than the traditional state of the art. So this is my opinion of the hackathon. It's beneficial to both the startups, the teams, as well as to the corporates, all at the same time.
Thank you so much. And it's actually amazing to have a guest that started from the hackathon, because this is amazing what you created, but we'll hear more of that later. Milan, Switzerland, hackathons, how is the situation there?
Okay, do you all hear me? Good. So I'm very excited to be here. I do have to admit something, on the contrary to many of you. I've attended many live conferences in the past. I've been a speaker, mostly at family office conference, single family office. So the audience for me were what we call first generation or second or third generation wealth creator, wealth builder. I am recent as a managing director position for the project, the Manta at the Sea Cleaners. To me, the hackathon, the way I understand it, is there's two parts to it. There is basically the theory or the drawings, which could be the thinking or the software. And then there's the reality where something has to work, which is exactly where we stand with the Manta. We have, I don't know if we're doing a hackathon on a daily basis, trying to make the connection between what will be the perfect world and what is the reality. So I'm constantly stretched during my day, during my week, and also on weekends and also late at night to bridge the two. And I think this is the way. So I hope I will be a positive contribution to the hackathon. If I go totally offline, please, all of you, send me a small note or send me a LinkedIn message like I did with Urska. And I hope to be part of many other hackathon, whatever the subject. And please read my bio on LinkedIn. If you're interested, please connect to me on LinkedIn. And I hope to make this event a great event. So, and I'm giving the floor back to Oscar.
Milan, thank you. And trust me, you are an amazing contribution, because we will address direct Sea Cleaners questions later on. So how we will do the flow, thank you so much for opening and hitting up the hackers about the hackathons. And now we'll address Jan as a global strategist innovation. Then we'll go to Sanjeev and what's going on the roads. Damir with all the virtual, cyber, AI, everything that is going on there. Then Milan will explain what the Sea Cleaners is all about, and we'll finish again. We start with Toyota and we'll finish with Toyota about actually what's going on in the maritime nowadays. So just how the flow will go, not to stress our panelists out, and to have some kind of a structure. Even though it's a hackathon full of crazy individualized jump-ins and improvisation, we'll have some structure today. So Jan, you've seen so much and you've done so many awesome things. What is actually your perspective? What are some of the major trends, technology-wise, of course, that we are experiencing, and how do they relate to the mobility sector?
Well, let me go back to the Feb 2020. You might remember these old times of having conferences, live conferences. And there was the ICT Future Forum in Bangalore, and we had a mobility panel there. And on that mobility panel, we had the obvious ones, the obvious subject ones. We had Conti there, we had Tata Motors there, we had Audi there. So we had a lot of, the traditional ones. And we had Cisco there. And it was like a lucky punch, because what did they offer? They offered WebEx. And it was the mobility panel. And I think this is the thing we all have to rethink. What is the mental model of mobility? And what's the purpose for mobility? And that's the core question I think we all have to answer. Mobility is not about driving a car. It's about getting a job done. And I think this is the major question we have to put forward to all our solutions is, what is the job to be done? So the core is here. And talking about the major trends we're experiencing, it is one is the end of distance. That's what we are experiencing right now. Normally we would be together in a hall and discuss directly. Now we discuss from Geneva, from India, from Germany to Croatia, Rijeka, and Slovenia. So all over the place. There's the end of distance. And I think this is one of the core questions we have to answer ourselves in this sector of mobility. What is the mental model behind that? Second, we had, of course, on that panel, we had a company called QuickRide. Well, QuickRide is a seat hailing company. You can share your car and you can jump on the car on the seat and you share the seats. What does that mean to maritime developments? Well, if you look at containers, for example, and I'm sure, Dama, you've got a lot of solutions on that side. I just checked in that 10% of all containers shipped around the world are empty. 10% of all containers are empty. That's an equivalent of 122 million tons of greenhouse gases. 40% of the LCLs, low capacity containers, are empty as well. So put that immense waste of space. It's incredible. So the second trend we experience is it's not about single solutions. It's about opening up. We have to have sort of seamless infrastructure which open up the silos we are living in. So imagine having a world where everybody could put their stuff into your container, backed up by blockchain, for example. What kind of incredible impact we could have. So seamless customer journeys are our core. Third basic trends we are experiencing is citizen AI. We all know about AI and AI as consumers AI and all that. Well, now comes the citizen into the play, and looking at Metal Shark, for example, some of your people who are buying your boats are states, governments. So you're running actually public goods around. So why not giving the citizen AI the information you're gathering back to the people, like information about weather, information about pollution, information about drifts, information about plastic in the sea, giving it back over to sea cleaners and saying, hey, listen, we just came across this and this and this. How about getting a sea cleaner there? So citizen AI is a core if you want to convince the people to use AI to get the acceptance. Third, the Internet of Thinking. It's not about the Internet of Things. Things are stupid. No. We are now at the stage where we have the Internet of Thinking. So we get clever devices. We get devices like from Adafruit for $10. You get already cameras working on AI and detection movement. So using that, Tiny AI is a core solution to all of the things we're doing, and connecting it and bringing it together again into a whole ecosystem. So Internet of Thinking surely is one. And data veracity, of course. If we say data is the new blood, we have to trust that blood. So how do we make sure that all the data we're using are at the right place? So having 5 basic trends here, it's the end of distance, seamless solutions, citizen AI, Internet of Thinking, and the data veracity. And if you build up on these 5 major models, you can proceed. And then looking into the mobility sector, of course, we've got thousands of solutions there. So we've got the car sharing or container sharing. We could have a look into the rivers. How could the rivers be supportive of transportation? Of course, we are facing now very traffic jams all over the place. And if you look at the potential of rivers, it's immense. Like in Kochi in India, South India, they've got a fleet of 23 electric ferries. Well, that could be a solution because propulsion will be a core question. How do we move on the sea? And I know sea cleaners have a beautiful solution there. The World Bank is investing $105 million next year into Bengal, West Bengal, for river transportation. We've got the sea bubble in Paris using the River Seine. And we've got Seabus from Norway providing autonomous vehicles. And of course, autonomous vehicles are totally game changer. And I know that Sanjeev knows more about that. Just to end up the story of transportation, of course, we have to look at hydrogen. Hydrogen is a core. ABB is starting there now and getting hydrogen propulsion from the Saudis, maybe, because there's green energy available. Looking over to ocean bird, wind, of course, transporting cars over the Atlantic, driven by wind. And of course, we've got the electric propulsions like on Stena Lines, who are already running now these big ferries. So we have to look at different energy levels. But coming back to autonomous vehicles, I think there are one core solutions we will have in cities. And I think it's worthwhile to think about that in the area of naval movement. So I might like to hand over to Sanjeev now, I think.
Jan, I would just like to ask one question here, because nicely put, you opened so many discussion topics, but, for companies that are struggling with implementing innovation processes and establishing companies and all that, what do you think that are the main challenges, and what tools or approaches they should use? What do you recommend before we go to Sanjeev? I think this would be a very insightful thing for companies, because everyone is talking about, yeah, we're very innovative, but then it stops because there's a lot of non-connected links across the companies. What would you suggest?
Well, I think the core question is to distinguish the three kinds of innovation. One is the incremental innovation, which provides and serves our core business. We need that. We definitely need that. The second one is to have the disruptive innovation, which is disrupting your own business. So maybe in future, you will not build ships. You might build satellites, or you enter the space of satellites and provide services for the sea. That would cannibalize your business. But if you're not prepared to do that yourself, someone else will do. So you have to distinguish these two major things of incremental and disruptive innovation. And then the third one is, of course, we're all looking into products. But the way how we produce or serve these products will be an innovation question as well. If you only use digitalization to use for your products, it's one side. The other side is how to digitalize your production line, how to make it totally different from that perspective, like Tesla. Tesla is not building cars. Tesla is building smart software on wheels. And that's where it comes from. It's all about software. So it's not about building a car. Car makers understand that business. But they will never think like that because it's software which is driving. So the third level is to think of is disruptive, incremental, and your production. From which perspective you start off. So this is one. The third one is, or the next step is thinking in horizons. You have to think in horizon, keep clear on which horizon you're working on. Horizon one is up to whatever, 2 years. So you invest maybe 50% of your business, your investment into your business, which is running up to 2-3 years. Horizon two is from there on 3 years. And level 3 is 5 years above. And you have to make sure that you're always talking in the right horizon, because otherwise the people in your company get confused. Maybe you're talking about horizon 3 and the people are thinking on horizon 1. And you get confused because there will be a struggle of resources. So be very clear on your innovation thesis on all 3 horizons. Horizon 1, 2, 3. And for all that, you need incremental and disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation is not only for level 3, it's also for level 1. So maybe a few hints on that.
Thank you, Jan. I think you helped a lot with, because as you know, every day people struggle, especially now that you express the horizons. This is a very important point, because employees cannot follow if they don't understand what they're following. So you gave very structured couple of points, and I think that our audience heard that, and I think you might get some questions afterwards. Definitely how, now we know what you need to think of, and now how. But since this is about mobility, and yes, innovation, but mobility, Sanjeev, when we talk about mobility and companies doing autonomous driving and saying that innovation comes from Indian roads, how are you developing the technology? How is it going? How far are you with your solutions?
Sure. Thanks, Urska, and thanks, Jan, for setting up platform. So that's a great question. So as you know that Indian environments are often very unstructured with very complex traffic dynamics. And then there's an infrastructure problem as well. So we are primarily addressing the safety and scalability aspects of autonomous driving. So for making autonomous driving safer, we are developing novel algorithmic frameworks that allow autonomous vehicles to negotiate traffic with dynamics as complex as the traffic dynamics in India. To give you some example, for example, we are learning driving policies for autonomous vehicles to negotiate bi-directional traffic on single lane roads, the kind of roads where if the traffic comes from the other end, your vehicle will have to shift off roads and often considerably at very high speeds and then get back on the road. So this you have to do for every obstacle. Another example is that we are developing a software that allows autonomous vehicles to predict the motion of other vehicles or intelligent agents in its surrounding, and then plan the safe motions or behavior accordingly, while also taking into account the reaction of every agent in the surrounding, right? Because those are intelligent agents, not just static agents with behavior of their own. So there's a complex multi-agent interaction going on over there. So such software allow autonomous vehicles to negotiate dense traffic scenarios at both the high and low speeds in both the urban and highway traffic scenarios. To address the scalability, so currently all those who are working autonomous mobility, you would know that autonomous vehicles currently require high fidelity or high definition maps of the environments. Such maps require significant investment in terms of time, money, and maintenance. Furthermore, inferring a vehicle's position against high fidelity map is computationally very involved process and requires infrastructure to actually accomplish that. So we developed the technology that actually doesn't require high fidelity maps for autonomous driving. You may ask, like, what's the benefit? So this allows our technology in autonomous driving to be scaled significantly faster compared to the technology being developed elsewhere. And there are several global, impacts of the technology that we are developing. One is that the traffic dynamics in developed countries is much simpler as compared to the traffic dynamics in India, where in India, the traffic dynamics is not just complex, it's also stochastic or noisy in nature. So you're dealing with that. So technology that can ensure safety over here, you can take that and put it in the developed countries in Europe and North America, and it will just improve the safety all the more compared to the existing technology. Another important aspect is that our technology can be scaled significantly rapidly compared to the technology that depends on the high fidelity map. And there's a secondary benefit of doing this. It is that over the period of time, the operational cost is going to come down significantly, which is going to be a major factor in near future. So this is these are the two aspects that we are currently addressing at Swayat in India over here.
Awesome. I was just thinking when you were saying, if you actually master the traffic there's practically nowhere in the world your solution wouldn't work in proficiency. Sanjeev, if there was one single most important problem in the autonomous vehicle segment in general that will shape up the future industry leaders in this market, what would that be? What would you say?
So assuming that the safety is already there, because when you have made it a commodity, then the customer is going to expect that the safety is already solved problem. So once that is there, when the technology is matured enough, like to a level of to level 4 or level 5 autonomy on land, then the most important factor are going to be the cost and scalability. So when it becomes commodity, as opposed to a luxury, which is now, businesses will have to offer the utilitarian value proposition. For example, on land, achieving level 5, which is still several years away from today, doesn't mean the end of key R&D problems. So we have to take operational cost and the scalability into account. So on land, both the cost of purchasing as well as operation and maintenance will be key factors. The operational and maintenance cost will heavily depend on the effectiveness of the perception software and how many expensive sensors like lidars or DRs are in the vehicle to accomplish the autonomous driving task. Furthermore, the computational efficiency. So many of you are in this hackathon developing different algorithms. So the computational efficiency of the algorithms of each of the software stack, like perception or planning, is directly going to affect the amount of energy that the vehicle is going to consume. And that then directly affects the operational cost as well. Similarly, on waters, when it becomes a commodity, the cost of operating ship either autonomously or semi-autonomously should be either equivalent or lesser compared to fully manned ships. Taking all the factors like accidents, piracy, and operations cost with and without the crew members on board. So thus, in my opinion, I think companies who have the clear mind frame, who are investing in the proper R&D today, in parallel to investing in the safety aspects, will emerge as clear winners in 10 to 15 years down the line.
Thank you. And Sanjeev, you already did put a little bit of the topic to the sea. So if Metal Shark would approach you and say, Sanjeev, would you help us out with some autonomous systems on the sea? Where do you see the biggest challenges in just transferring your R&D from the vehicles to the maritime? Challenges or differentiators? Or maybe you just say, yeah, I can just start tomorrow, bring it on.
That would be the answer to begin with. Yes, we can start from tomorrow. So basically, there are both kind of propositions. There are socio-economic propositions to the vessel manufacturer, as well as the technology proposition. So the socio-economic proposition, I think the companies understand best, but I'll just iterate. For example, autonomous ships are going to be more safer and efficient, bringing down the operation cost, because most of maritime accidents happen due to human error. And autonomy will help address this issue. There's also an issue of piracy, which will be mitigated by autonomy, because the autonomous ships can just haul the ship or make it go into circle, a lighter pattern, for example, with making it easier for the law enforcement agencies to capture it. What about jobs? I mean, there are 1.6 million or more merchant seafarers. One question might be about jobs, but then the autonomous shipping will open different technological fronts and different job opportunities altogether. So coming to the technology standpoint, which is, for example, what we're working on. So in territorial waters, the traffic dynamics gets more complicated near the land with the smaller commercial and private boats. But still less complex than on the land, and definitely much less complex and more predictable as compared to what we are doing in India. Thus, the planning software that is made to deal with complex traffic scenarios and able to deal with significant level of noise or stochasticity in the traffic dynamics can be used directly, perhaps with a small modification to the control software, taking the ego dynamics of the ship into account for autonomous maritime application. One of the very key differentiator is a far range perception. So on ships, the requirement of creating 3D representation of the world around is significantly reduced, and the perception is more heavily dependent on radars as opposed to cameras or lidars on ground. Furthermore, a technology that can ensure perception on land using minimal number of lidars, that is mostly using cameras, will be very useful for maritime applications. And we at SWAD actually have been developing such a technology, although I didn't highlight in the first point that we have actually developed technology that works using only cameras both during the day and at night. So depending on the size of the ego boat or maritime vessel, some of the other boats or obstacles can become latent or hidden due to waves or perhaps in the harsh weather condition. Thus, the ability to deal with stochasticity in the dynamics will be a key differentiator. So the challenges are often shared, and there are some differentiating factors definitely, but most of these are scale-up engineering problems. There is one key R&D problem though involved. For example, if we talk about large container terminals, large container vessels, like given their size and momentum on water, there are some significant R&D challenges in terms of robustly controlling such vessels either on regular or harsh weather conditions, be it open or territorial waters because of their momentum. So this is one additional R&D problem concerned with the maritime applications, but most of the problems are shared between land and waters.
Thank you so much. So if Teuta calls you tomorrow, you're ready for action.
Yes.
And you mentioned something that we didn't hear this weekend, problem of piracy. I mean, it's like we totally forgot about that one on the sea, but it's going on. So thank you for reminding our hackers about this issue as well.
Sure, because in autonomous ships, the pirates cannot have a ransom, the opportunity to ransom, right? So it makes it very easy for law enforcement to actually capture them because there is no one in the ship.
Wow, thank you so much.
And those in the hackathon can actually develop such a system that can actually detect pirates on board the vessel.
On board. Imagine that. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Damir, now we'll go to you. There were so many digital trends, technology trends. You as digital savvy, the evangelist, the savant of these technologies, and a mentor of Third Challenge, we might say. After all that was said, where do you see the challenges and trends in technology and new mobility that is coming and autonomous? Where do you see all these challenges are leading us?
Okay, thank you. Sure. So I'll try to kind of convey the message from Jan and Sanjeev. I think that they were both, I would say, great in the matter of the ideas that they were covering. And to start as well with that, I think. And to put it in the context of the maritime in general, I think before starting with any of these digitalization aspects, there are tons of them. But the maritime industry is any other industry is suffering from the main kind of drivers for the change. And at the moment, and what we were speaking as well yesterday, if we structure them in basically three main drivers, you see that resource utilization and climate impact and safety, these are the kind of three drivers. This is the job to be done for the main stakeholders in the maritime. So whatever you do, you put your use cases in that context to be understandable, to talk the language of the industry as such. The next one that was as well mentioned here, and in maritime, you're mentioning technologies lots of the time, but more and more one of the kind of sentences is being there, and this is beyond the vessel. So you have a issue of connecting different kind of stakeholders, different industries, different life cycles between the offshore and onshore. And what you want to basically from out of these solutions that you are providing or whatever basically you're resolving, you want to have a seamless capability. You have a same look and you want to have a same look and feel when you're going basically from the truck to the railway, from the railway to the vessel. And that's, I would say, the big challenge as well, because it's at the moment pretty fragmented area, and I would say pretty fragmented from the regulatory perspective. And it gives a big challenge, I would say, for all of the stakeholders that are kind of a part of the industry at the moment. So kind of structure this one as a challenge and response. I think I already touched it a little bit, but you have to have a bundles between a solutions and a connectivity solutions that you're touching. You have to have some sort of the shared benefits between the stakeholders. You have to create an ecosystem and partnership. And you have to drive the regulatory aspect basically on a holistic way. Putting all together, then you get as well some sort of the map for the digitalization of this one. And now I'm coming back to all of this nice AI stuff and the cloudification or the connectivity 5G, 6G or whatever basically is out there. But how do you start? One more time, you start with the use cases. We already see the use cases of autonomous ships, with the biggest kind of challenges around autonomous ships about regulatory and cybersecurity. You put it autonomous and then you have a piracy, or you put it autonomous and then you have a regulatory aspect to resolve, because autonomous ship, basically, if it's a cargo or it's a passenger or it's a defense, That's not the same thing. So you have to one more time understand the basic challenge that you are resolving with autonomous. Then it's a pollution. I think we have a great innovation examples of creating worldwide pollution maps of the ocean. So the companies are taking, from the completely different problem aspect. I would say this is environmental aspect of the world. How to kind of analyze and do the analytics of the pollution side of the oceans. We are kind of, I don't know how much you know about this, but maritime is for the years the biggest, I would say, polluter in the worldwide. So I think you have to copy this one. And I think when it comes to the resolving this challenge, you first of all, you need to understand the data and the things that basically you analyze there. And then, to connect all of this, I think there are incredible kind of an options now around it with the low orbit satellites, with the 6G, 5G on the horizon. Why is all of that? I think one of the things that you want to kind of have as a seamless connectivity, whatever we have in onshore, you have to have as well offshore. And that's a big challenge because in ocean kind of perspective, connecting all of those things, I would say one more time on an effective way, could be a big challenge and could be as well cost for the beginning that most of the stakeholders in maritime will not understand, I would say, on the first glance. They will kind of need a pretty big time in front of them, and there are some sort of financial analysis. They are saying that the first return of investment of this kind of a capex investments will take basically 10 years from now. What is, I would say, a big challenge coming to the last, I would say, digitalization aspects of automation and why the automation in a shipbuilding is happening. At the end of the day, maritime is very sensitive to the cost efficiency. And this is, if you see basically where the shipyards have been migrated, everything basically to the Asia, China, and so on, and kind of how the maritime is being developed at the moment, it's a very sensitive cost efficiency. And for some of the kind of stakeholders, autonomy is the kind of a reason for the cost efficiency. Automation is with the, I don't know, digital twins and solutions like this are the kind of they see the benefit of basically reducing the man force on the ship. And at the end of the day, I think what as well Sanjeev was saying, you have another last pillar of this one is the safety and how the safety can be kind of resolved by the digitalization. Majority of accidents at the maritime at the moment are kind of caused by the people. And one of the things that all these analytics and digitalization aspects by using digital twins or so on, it can help basically to reduce this one and that we have a more efficient, I would say, as well aspect of the safety on the ships. So that's a more or less kind of a storyline from where is the context to where is the digitalization potential. And I think what I kind of judge based on the fact by working with the smart cities, smart cars, and smart railways, I think maritime is somehow at the beginning compared to those one, because in majority of those industries, the digitalization started like 4 or 5 years ago, and now somehow it's getting heavily, I would say, to the one of the most regulated industry, and it's getting there. It's getting to the maritime as well.
Damir, thank you so much for this, for your insights and actually bringing out the clean sea perspective. Because now we're rounding up towards the end, and now we'll invite Milan to explain what sea cleaners are. Yesterday we were heavily addressing the topic of polluted seas and the environment and all that was going on. So Milan, tell us what you do, how you clean the seas.
Hello, can you hear me, all of you? Okay, perfect. So the Manta Project came from Yvan Bourgnon, which has been a sailor and going across the world for many, many years. And he lived on a boat with his parents, so he's definitely a person of the sea. And he realized years after years that it was getting worse and worse, and places that were pristine and beautiful were starting to be quite dirty. So in 2016, he decided, okay, enough is enough. No more talking, no more discussion. I get a feedback loop that somebody has a mic that's up.
Some ocean tutorial, so can I call after that?
Maybe if somebody can switch off the mic of Mahavir Gupta, that would be great.
Martin, please mute all the participants apart from Milan. Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue. So in 2016, he created the not-for-profit, the Sea Cleaners in France. In 2018, it was created in Switzerland. So we are a not-for-profit organization, and we have an engineering company that's connected to these two NGO, again, not-for-profit, called Manta Innovation. If you want to Google it, to some of you, I've sent a video which was published by the World Economic Forum, and we have had more than 600,000 views in less than a week and a half. And that just shows you it is relevant, it is possible, and there's plenty of money. Just look at Bitcoin, there's plenty of money to fund our organization. So I hope that this hackathon will also bring some people that will contact us and say, okay, we want to be part of it, just as a hint to my goal. So the main difference with our project compared to other projects is we started with a white piece of paper, decided what our mission should be. We divided 4 missions. Then we decided how big each mission needed to be. And then we went to some ship designers and ship architects. And one of the firm is called Ship ST, like Susanna and Tokyo, which is making boats for Le Ponant. Le Ponant, which is, maybe some of you might know, they make some fancy cruise boats. So we are only using professional people that make real boats with real passengers and real engines. And we are not just like crazy people that were drunk and decided to make something that will never fly. So that's, I think it's really important for all of you to know it is a serious project. We are being contacted by serious companies. We are talking to whoever we can to basically make sure that we don't make any mistakes. I flagged the IBM project, so we're also talking to them. We want this boat to be as efficient as possible. And yes, perfection, it's not us. We're not going to be perfect, so we want to learn. We want the boat to be a platform of technology showcase. So potentially you could see different technology being shown over time on the boat. That's also very important. In terms of we having Bureau Veritas, that would be the certification company. We want the life of this boat to be 20 years. And we might change technology over time, like the solar panels could be different, like the windmill could be different, like the underwater power generation could be different. We are being contacted by companies that want to help us to generate our own hydrogen on the boat using salt water. I didn't know that was possible to create hydrogen with salt water. So definitely technology is becoming RIP for something that's very dear to my heart, even before I joined the Sea Cleaners. It's a concept called off the grid, which is totally opposite to the data cloud, if you want, of all the data sharing. But I think it makes sense. I think every single boat on the ocean should not require any resources outside of the sun, the wind, and potentially the water. So that's my dream for the Sea Cleaners. How much plastic we're going to collect? Again, I flagged the company that we're talking to, which is a spin-off of EPFL called Pictera, which is merging artificial intelligence, satellite analysis, and then being able to go backward, i.e. to see 1 day before, 2 days before, 1 week before, what was the situation, to see how did we come up to this situation? How did we come to this location of plastic? Where did it come from? So to try to learn from it, to have the boat positioned on the right day, at the right time, in the right direction to maximize collection. Okay, so that's I think very important for you to understand about the boat. It's not just the boat, is having the boat at the right location so that we can maximize use of the boat. We could collect, depending on the scenario, up to 3 tons of plastic per hour. 3 tons of plastic per hour. That's our metrics. and we hope to come as close as we can from that. We will use some of it as fuel. We will make different use for different type of plastic. And we are talking to some people that are very interested to collect the plastic from us, because there's a very high demand of ocean plastic waste for different use. So there's a totally new market that's being created, which could be used worldwide. Any countries will be having different solutions. And again, it's not one solution fits all. What applies to India might not apply to Sri Lanka and might not apply to the Maldives or to the Seychelles. So that just, yeah. And we're going to be hosting conferences. We're going to be stopping at various harbor. I would love to come to Rijeka. I would love to come to Dubrovnik. I would love to come to Monaco and to Shanghai, or Hong Kong, or whatever other location that's close to where the politicians are. We want to be the showcase so that 400 other crazy people like us will make 400 other boats with different specs, different size, and different duties. So we want to be at the forefront of let's stop talking, let's act. And that's it for me. I'm giving back the floor.
Thank you, Milan. I love the open innovation, the open call to participation in your ecosystem. Let's clean the seas together. And thank you so much. You've put a lot of valuable information in the chat as well for our participants. So hackers, do check the chat out. There's a lot of heavy informative content there. Hydrogen out of salt water. I know that some of the teams are thinking about the fuel, so this is also a very good one. And you ended up with the invitation to Rijeka. So Teuta, is he invited? He's invited to Rijeka, huh?
This is out of the question. And Milan knows it already. So this is at least what we can offer, besides the collaboration potential.
Exactly.
But mentioning Monaco and so on, maybe we could also join the trip.
Partner up, do something amazing, and then visit all these places together.
Yeah, we're sorry, if I may just add something. We only want to go to countries where we're welcome. So that's also one of the reasons why I'm in Geneva, because it's the UN, because it's all the embassies, all the ambassadors. We will not go to a country unless we're invited at the highest level, which is normally prime minister, presidents, head of the environment organization, head of the seaports. We will not go to a country where we're not invited. There's 196 countries. Some of them have ocean beaches, and we will not be able to go everywhere also. So first come, first serve. So of course, countries such as India, Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia are priority in terms of level of pollution. But basically, we have also received a strong interest from Latin America and Central America. So yeah, we will only come where we are welcome and invited. Hint. Official invitation, not just like a Zoom.
Hint taken. Teuta, we started with you. Actually, the entire thing started with you. So it's only proper thing we finished the panel session, the discussion with you and your amazing energy. You're a technology expert, engineer, female CEO. You've seen so many different things in the maritime development 3 years of your career. So what would you say, which trends that you observe and which have a deeper influence for the shipbuilding and maritime industry? And of course, what is going on in the innovation field, what you can disclose with us. So how do you see this field developing?
Thank you, Urshka. I would say a young individual working and enjoying this kind of the events in order to increase the knowledge about also different industries, etc. So a lot of the things were already mentioned throughout this panel. So I will also try to be condensed on my end. When we put COVID aside, I think that the scale of goods and people moving around the world is greater than ever before. It's clear that the global transition to a cleaner and greener maritime sector is underway. they're pretty strict, set 2030 and 2050 climate targets. Emissions from the transport sector simply must get on clear downward trend, and this is an obvious forecast. Today's strategy are already shifting the way people and goods move across the Europe, across the world, and make it easy to combine different modes of transport in a single journey. This is something that we are learning and listening a lot lately. So combination of a different modes on transport in a single journey. This is certainly something which is here. Shipping simply needs to become more sustainable, with green alternatives being widely available. Mm-hmm. Green alternatives meaning that they will also be cost efficient, and that the right incentives will be put in place to drive this transition. Because if in the end of the day, batteries will cost more, or the oil will be less expensive than some alternatives, it will always be a very slow move. Let's also be specific. For example, quite punctual milestone to be achieved in the next decades. For example, are zero emission vessels, which need to be market ready by 2030. This is a pretty high requirement. You have currently International Maritime Organization, IMO, and Classification Society working closely together with the shipping industry to reduce the emissions of a range of NOx, carbon dioxide, to make shipping more environmentally friendly. The strictest regulation apply in regards to sulfur emissions. Mm-hmm. For example, this causes ship owners, the clients, the fleet keepers, to spend a considerable amount of resources to search for a viable alternative green ship technologies. Currently, what a lot of the ship owners and fleets are doing is that they are switching to scrubbers, utilizing fuel cells, batteries, etc. In parallel, engineers as us and shipbuilders are developing hybrid electrical ships to reduce reliance on fuels that are harmful to the environment. This is also happening currently. Simple as is, smart ships are to take over. I would maybe just mention shortly what is the entire purpose of these smart technologies. That means that ships can develop the capability to adopt automatically and modify behavior to fit fully the environment. For example, you have currently Rolls-Royce and Google teamed up to introduce autonomous ship technology using advanced machine learning algorithms. That means that the ship, which is exploited on the sea, will be capable of self-learning and using experience to improve performance. This is huge deal for, I will always say figuratively, very conservative maritime industry. This will be achieved by installing different cameras, sensors, scanners on the vessels, providing opportunity for them to learn from tasks being done by the crew on board. Also, something I would like to mention is future mobility, which is powered by sustainable raw materials. So the growing demand for reducing CO2 emissions, air pollutions, lowering noise, has generated to invest significantly into electrification of the world fleets and to optimize further ships in terms of weight reduction, lightweight design. Yesterday, we met with people from Brunel University, which can support us in this new material aspects significantly. Digitalization in terms of when looking at it from our own company, replacing paper-based processes, and transactions will increase operational and cost efficiency for shipping dramatically. So digital documentation will be completely available from the engineering design office throughout the shipyards for the seafarers, mariners who will use it fully on board. So this is roughly where do I see for perspective of the future mobility in terms of the maritime itself.
Thank you so much, Teuta. But in terms of maritime, Metal Shark is already working and actually delivering. We read articles about so many autonomous vessels being already done. So you are not only thinking of it, you have them. So what is, in your opinion, I will put the same question as I did to Sanjeev, that one single most important problem that you see in the autonomous vessel segment, of course, that will shape up the future of industry leaders in the autonomous vessel market?
You will need to allow me to say that there is no just a single challenge, and this is making this game, let's say, even more interesting. But certainly the non-existence at the moment of the international regulatory framework for autonomous vessels, meaning these are currently all of these collaborative developments and testing of new technologies which need to be funded from side of the maritime organization, class societies, etc. So the shipbuilding maritime is very stringent and statutory and regulated market. So there needs to be an international framework for these kind of vessels. Second of all, if you will have a smart ship, you need to have smart ports and cities which will be able to receive it. So it's critical maritime and logistic infrastructure, which is on the current trends expected to be there in 2050, like for the majority of the world. So this is currently slowing the parallel development in terms of the ships itself. I would continue with skilled resources, people. You have a lot of alignment with high performance staff. So future engineers will be expected to transition easily between sea and shore. They will need to have much wider IT skills. They will need continuously to develop their professional skills. You will have a combination of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, IT. So it will be a different era also for the engineers. Last thing I would name here is security and resilience in terms of technological advance offers opportunities which are challenging in terms of the cyber attacks, etc. Something which is currently started to occurring it's occurring more and more regularly. And if we do not have this resolved, ships, ports, a lot of services will be completely out there to be attacked.
Thank you. Oh, wow. What an amazing insights, topics, and everything. So to close up, I will just challenge all of you participants, panelists, in one sentence, and we'll start from back in front. So the future of mobility for you is, Teuta?
I would say about striving towards environmental friendly, integrated, automated travel on demand.
Thank you. Milan, future of mobility in one sentence for you.
A new beginning of being off the grid, not dependent on outside energy.
Well, thank you. Damir, future of mobility for you.
Yeah, sustainable digitalization. So I was repeating this one for many times, but sustainable digitalization, yeah.
This is practically the core of your living. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Sanjeev, for you, future of mobility.
Yeah, I would say it's electric mobility with with personalization for the owner as well, basically. I mean, so that's what future of mobility is for me.
Thank you. And last but not least, Jan, future of mobility for you.
Rethink the job to be done while you move.
Thank you so much. And let's end up with this. So many insightful, deep thoughts for our competitors. So let's see if maybe some of the hackers got some questions, or there has been so much and so many information, so you just jumped back to work. So we are happy here to take a question or two. Otherwise, we will just let them work, I guess, huh?
It's a quite important day for them.
Yeah, it is. It is. They are presenting at 5. Teuta, may we invite our panelists to listen to the final pitches if they will have time?
Absolutely. If you will have time, currently is let's say 1:10. In less than 4 hours, we are having a pitching session from our hackers. So please, we will be glad for you to join. And even if you do not manage, you will have everything recorded, so you will be able to see what are these cool and innovative solutions which our teams came to. So Urška, thank you for moderating this very interesting panel, and thank you for all of the partners, because we learned a lot today within this only 1 hour. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Teuta, so much. Actually, you're an enabler of all that. Our dear guests, Jan, Sanjeev, Milan, thank you so much. You took time on Sunday, and I was reminded on Valentine's Sunday. So I was also reminded we should spread some love. So we love you all. Thank you once again, and hope to see you at 5 to see what we created. And of course, we'll get in touch. We'll be in touch, and our teams will have an opportunity to show you what they did. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Bye to all of you.
Bye.